If you're looking to step up your cocktail game, serving a cocktail inside of an ice ball is pretty much guaranteed to impress your guests. I get asked enough how to make these that I figured it was time to finally create a tutorial. Alright, to get this together, you're going to need some kind of seasoning injector or syringe, a little hammer to crack the ball open, a tiny funnel, a standard ice ball mold, and actually a soldering iron comes in handy, although it's not 100% necessary. You can get all this stuff on Amazon pretty cheap. I'll provide links in the description. First step is to fill up the ice ball mold as you normally would, using either tap water or filtered water. Then just drop it in the freezer. And what we're aiming for here is to freeze it just enough so about only a 1/4 centimeter of a shell remains. Now my freezer is relatively warm, so it takes me about 3 hours total to do this. And about halfway in, you want to flip it upside down to make sure it freezes evenly. So of course, if you have your freezer set to be cooler, this may not take quite as long, so you may have to play around with it and see what works best for you. At this point, if you have a soldering iron, go ahead and plug that in to get it warm. Then run some cold water over the ice ball mold just to loosen it up a bit. And so here's where you need to extract that water from inside the ice ball mold. You can see it's frozen solid on top. Now to puncture that top, you can actually use that syringe and just sort of heat it up a little bit. But this is where the soldering iron becomes really handy if you have one, because you're going to make a slightly bigger hole that you can use for a garnish later. Do a quick check to make sure the bottom of that funnel fits into the hole. So this is the fun part. Time to extract that water from inside the ice ball. You may think, why can't I just turn it upside down and pour it out? Well, with the amount of water that's in there and the fact that there's only one hole on top, it's actually quite difficult. So this is where the syringe comes in. That last little bit of remaining water should be pretty easy just to dump out. And what's left is just that shell of an ice ball, which again should ideally be about a 1/4 centimeter thick. Now you can just store these in the freezer within a Tupperware container until you're ready to use them. It's actually quite important that you put the ball in the container with the hole facing upwards, because the bottom will sort of melt a little bit and form a bit of a stand. So when you're ready to serve this, just start by making your favorite cocktail. Here I'm making a classic rye Manhattan, so starting with 2 ounces of Rittenhouse rye, 1 ounce of your favorite sweet vermouth, and finally 2 dashes of Angostura bitters. And that hole you made at the top of the ice ball is a great space for a little garnish like this lemon peel. Okay, you're ready to present the cocktail. Just start by very carefully sliding that ice ball into a rocks glass. Carefully insert the funnel into the ice ball and pour the cocktail in. Try to get it to come up just to the top without spilling over, maybe leaving a little bit of room if you're going to stick a garnish in. For this Manhattan, we're just going to express the oils from the lemon peel, curl it up a little bit, and stick it right in the hole there at the top. Grab the little hammer and let's smash that ball open. I created the Fog Burner cocktail as an homage to the city I live in, San Francisco, where an average day consists of a morning fog that is burnt away by California sun. So first we need to make an ice ball shell. To do that, you're going to need an ice ball mold like this one, a seasoning injector of some kind to extract the liquid from the middle, and you're going to need to heat that up to puncture the shell, so get a lighter. So to create the smoke, it is much easier to have one of these electric smoking guns. You'll see why later. And we're gonna be serving this up on a little black bowl on top of a metal jigger and drinking out the cocktail using a tiny straw. To cover the cocktail with the smoke, you're gonna want a stemless wine glass. I'll provide a link to all this equipment in the description. The cocktail is gonna be a mezcal Negroni, so you'll need some mezcal, some Campari, and sweet vermouth. First, you're gonna fill up that ice ball mold and freeze it only for about 3 hours or so. That's gonna allow a shell of ice to form around the outside. Then you're gonna heat up that seasoning injector and insert it directly into the top. Once you manage to puncture that shell of ice, you're then going to extract all the water out. You're gonna wanna try to do this quickly. The less time holding that terrifying syringe-looking device, the better. You'll then probably need to pull the ice ball out of the mold and just dump a little bit of excess water. And then you'll be left with this really sexy looking ice ball shell. Drop it back in the mold and just store it in the freezer. Okay, cocktail time. So start with 1 ounce of your Campari. Mix in 1 ounce of your sweet vermouth. And then finally 1 ounce of your mezcal to give it that smoky flavor. So you're gonna wanna stir this vigorously for about 45 seconds to bring the temperature of the cocktail down to about 0 degrees Celsius. This will ensure that the ice ball shell stays intact longer when you pour in the cocktail. All right, let's plate this thing. So get your ice ball shell and you're gonna wanna place it right on top of that metal jigger. It's actually much better if you've kept that metal jigger in the freezer so it doesn't melt the ice ball. And here's where you're gonna get a little bit surgical. So you're gonna take that seasoning injector, extract the cocktail, and then inject it very carefully into that ice ball shell, like some kind of game of operation. Fill it all the way to the top so you get this beautiful red orb of deliciousness. Now it's time to load up the smoking gun. The smoking gun basically allows you to ignite small wood chips like this and control the direction of that smoke by blowing it through that rubber tube. I highly recommend one if you're doing a lot of smoking. All right, here's the tricky part. After you turn on your smoking gun, you're gonna wanna ignite the wood chips and angle the smoke directly into the top of that glass. Once it's ignited and going, grab that glass, invert it, and carefully place it over your ice ball with a cocktail. Try not to knock it off the jigger. Also best not to do this right in front of your guest as you're gonna get smoke everywhere. And here's the moment of glory. Bring the bowl in front of the guest and slowly lift up the glass to reveal the cocktail. You'll notice a nice cool vacuum effect of the smoke wafting in and out of the glass. The applewood smoke here is gonna provide a nice aroma that will complement the mezcal smokiness of the cocktail really well. Then discard the glass and insert the straw into the hole at the top and serve. The ice shell should hold throughout the length of the cocktail, but if not, the bowl is always there to catch it. And that's how you make the smoky fog burner cocktail. Give it a shot and let me know how it goes. Cheers.